For this video, I'm going to show an application gateway, which is basically like a load balancer, but it functions on the OSI layer 7 uh, layer, and so it it's the same thing where you have a backend pool and the rules and the HTTP listener, and like if the application's on a virtual machine, that could be part of your pool, or app service, or even on the on-premises server. It has additional feature to other than load balancing, where it has a web application firewall. So like if you're getting like someone's doing a cross-site scripting attack on you, then it could deny that traffic using the firewall. It also is able to. It's also able to route traffic based on like a URL, like the path of the request. You know, if it's gonna be like from wherever the path is. Um, anyway, the way that the application layer for the application gateway, like the way the service works is same as load balancer, as I was saying, it has a front end IP address, so that's where the web traffic goes to from the web app. It goes not from the web, but if they're trying to reach the web app, it goes to the application gateway, and then you have your listeners, and there's two kinds. There's the basic one, which the listener listens to a single domain site, and then the multi-site kind, which is listeners maps to multiple domain sites. And then, like I said before, there's routing rules. The basic one, where all requests are routed to the backend pool directly, or path-based, which I was talking about, the URL, where requests are routed to the backend pool based on the URL in the request. Then you have the backend pools, which could be network interface cards, virtual machine scale sets, public or internal IP addresses, FQDN, or backend such as app service. And I think the last thing is health probes, is how the application gateway will monitor the health of the resources that are in the backend pool. So anyway, I created two virtual machines, and I connected to them, and I opened port 80 on both of them and installed IIS web server on them, and I made a file in it, and also I created a folder in the root of it, images. So the first one's images, other one's videos, and so if you get the public IP of them, it's that, and then images. So there it is, image server, and then second one. Videos folder, and then so I'm just showing you, URL based routing. That's what I'm gonna do this for. Should have called this images server instead of image. Anyway, so let's actually create the resource. So create application gateway, create, we'll assign it there, call it app gate 1. Let's make it US East, East US. And I don't want auto scaling. Tier standard V2 is fine, but if you want to add a web application firewall, you can do that. I don't need availability zone. And so you could create, you could choose a VNet that your virtual machine's on, but it's not going to work because you need an empty subnet, to host your application resources. So let's create a new subnet in that same virtual network, because I don't want to create a new virtual network. So let's go to either the virtual machines. Go to its VNet, go to subnets. Here's that one, so we can't use that one, so let's create a new subnet. Call it whatever you want. Gate subnet. Make sure you know there's enough address space for it. There is when you originally create the virtual machines. And when it's done, alright, it's done. Now let's choose that one. Alright, so it's now configured a front end IP. So we want a public one. And it's, I don't want to use those, it doesn't even let you. So let's create a new one called gate IP. Okay, it's created. Let's make the backend pools. So call it images pool and associate with the virtual machine. The first one is images, and if I wanted one pool, I could do 2 of them in here, but I'll just do 2 separate pools. So one is images, and I'll do videos, virtual machine, and VM2. Okay. VM1, VM2. Alright, now let's do actual configuration. So we have our front end IP and we have our backend pools. So now we need routing rules to connect them. So we'll just call it rule 1. So listener name, listener 1. So we choose our front end IP. Find port 80 of HTTP. If you want to do HTTPS, 4430. But that's fine, I don't have a certificate. So backend targets, and so let's do images. I should have called that videos pool. And HTTP settings, let's create a new one. Just call it settings 1, port 80, and everything else is fine, so we'll add it. And you can add multiple targets to create a path-based rule, but I'm fine with it like that. And let's look at rule 1. So basically, it's the listener is gonna listen, and it's gonna look for traffic directed to the public IP address. So users are trying to request the IIS on the virtual machines, so they have to go through the public IP address to get to them. And the listener is going to be listening on HTTP, port 80. And then next is the backend targets. So this is what the listener is trying to listen for, and it's going to be on this backend pool of images pool, and it's using these settings. And let's do the path. So we're going to say if it's /images /star. So it's basically saying any request to images, and then any more specific than that doesn't matter, as that's what it's going to be looking out for. Just give it any type of target name, just image name, whatever. And HTTP settings, to make sure setting 1. Backend target is images. We'll add. And now let's do the same thing for videos. So videos /star. We'll call it video name. Same HTTP setting, and this time the backend target is videos. videos pool. So now I have two path-based rules, one for images, one for videos. And that should be it. So we should be able, we have our front end, we have a routing rule, and our backend pools. So now we should be able to create it. So I'll come back when it's ready. Alright, it's ready. So now let me show you if I have these right. Well, now I don't need them anymore. Cause oops. No, I don't. I want to go to the resource. Okay, fine. We'll go to, here we are, the application gateway. So now you get the front end IP address. And it's going to have IIS, right? Because it's using the one on the virtual machines. So let's say we do images slash so it's hosting traffic, and it's acting as a load balancer, and it's replacing the, well, it's not replacing, but it's balancing the traffic and sending it using path-based routing rule that we created. So it's doing that, going to the first virtual machine, now to videos. So now it's doing both. So it's acting as a load balancer, but on the application layer. And a feature of it is it has path-based rules, URL based. So that's better than normal load balancer. That's one of the differences between a application gateway and a standard and a normal load balancer.